Hi everyone, my name is Erin and welcome back to my channel. I apologize for the lighting in this video. It is gloomy and rainy and I don't even know if you could maybe hear it. It's pouring. But today I wanted to film a video and I wanted to talk about the books that are, highest on my priority list this year. So in my 2020 goals video, I mentioned a list of books that I've bought or received in 2018 that I have not read yet. And it being 2020, my goal is to have read all of the books on this list by the end of the year. There are 12, but then there are 4 like pre-2018 books on the list that I also want to get to. So I'll talk about those ones first because they are in fact the oldest. As I said, there are 4. The first is a novel. It's by Jessica Westhead. It's called Pulpy and Midge. So this is about Pulpy, whose real name is Brian, and he works at an office and he really likes his job. Now his wife used to also work at this office, but she quit when one of their coworkers' dogs ate her pet pigeon. And now a new boss has kind of taken over and has made life a bit difficult for Pulpy, therefore also Midge. Now, Jessica Westhead is one of my favorite writers. I recently just read one of her other novels that was released, which is less funny, which is what this is supposed to be, but I am now more eager than ever to read this, and I got this in 2016. Jessica herself sent this to me with a nice little note on the inside. Because she saw a review I did for And Also Sharks, which is my favorite short story collection. So, Jessica, this is the last of your things that I have to read. I will do it. Next is a book that I think I got in 2017, which was for the Decameron read-along that Adam from Memento Mori hosted. And I bought this because I was like, oh, that sounds like it would be fun. And then I got, how far did I get? Let's see, I have a postcard in page 156. Now I imagine this postcard, because it's not addressed to me, it's addressed to Gordon from Anne. I imagine this was in here when I got it, and I just used it as a bookmark. So I did get 150 pages in. The Decameron is a classic. It is a collection of basically 100 short stories. Essentially, there are 10 people who are running away to a farmhouse to escape the plague. And for 10 days, they each tell a short story to sort of pass the time. I was really liking this when I was reading it. I don't know why I stopped. It just will be a running theme in this video. The next book that I have is a book that I'm terrified to read, but my partner's mother gave it to me. My partner's mother gave it to me. She read it, and she just was like, here you go. It is none other than House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielowski. This book is notorious for being written all kinds of ways. It's a book that you need to pay attention to. It's apparently very terrifying. This is about a house that is bigger on the outside than it looks on the inside, and it is about a family that moves into that house. It's considered haunted. Like, you know what I mean? What? So, hopefully in the summer, I will be able to just sit with this brick of a book and read it. And then the last of the oldies on this list is a book that I've had for so many years because my sister read this when she was 16 and it took her a long time to read because she was afraid of it. And then afterward, she had it on her shelves for a long time, and then she moved out. She had some children. She was thinking about the books that she has, and this didn't make the cut, and she said, hey, would you like it? And that was in maybe 2014. And I've had this book since then. And it is The Witching Hour by Anne Rice. Another beast of a book. 965 pages. I don't really know what this is about. I just know that it's scary. My partner really wants to read it as well. So I got the audiobook, which is 50 hours. And so he's currently listening to it and really enjoying it. He says it's spooky, but in a good way. So he's probably only like a quarter of the way through it. So he has time to be scared. But that is how I will be reading that book. Now we're getting into the 12 books and gifts from 2018. And this would be the main books that I want to focus on for the rest of the year. So the first is a Thomas Hardy book. This is a book that I bought myself for my birthday in 2018 after reading Tess of the D'Urbervilles and loving it. I bought The Mayor of Casterbridge and Two on a Tower for myself. Now I read The Mayor of Casterbridge and really liked it, and Two on a Tower has kind of been sitting around because I love Thomas Hardy, but I now that I have Jude the Obscure, I think I will be more likely to read this year because I just don't like the idea of not having a Hardy on my shelves to read now that I love him. So I have Two on a Tower. I don't really know what this is about because I kind of bought it because I love Thomas Hardy. So it says on the back that Two on a Tower tells the story of Lady Constantine, who breaks all the rules of decorum when she falls in love with a beautiful youth, Swithin St. Cleeve, her social inferior and 10 years her junior. Interesting. So gonna read this year. Next, I have also my last John Wyndham that I have on my shelves. That's The Trouble with Lichen. This, I don't really know what it's about as well. The back of his books are just normally text from inside the book. I recently just read, what's it called? The Midwich Cuckoos, which I really liked. So interested in this. I like to read John Wyndham in like at the end of the year, historically. And then I have Fyodor Dostoevsky's The House of the Dead, which is sort of a autobiographical, like a fictionalized autobiography of his time in prison. So in 1850, he was shipped to a remote Siberian prison, and for being part of a political conspiracy, and he spent a lot of time there and he saw a lot of bad things there, and this is that, but I think sort of fictionalized. So it's called documentary realism on the back, whatever that means. So I've never read any Dostoevsky before, and I picked this up because it was a book that I thought my partner would like to read as well. So I might end up getting the audiobook for that because that's how he reads. Next I have Out by Nitsuo Kurino, which is a book that I started at the end of the year but didn't quite finish. This is a thriller about 4 women who work in an overnight packaging plant factory type job. One of them kills her husband and the other 3 decide to help her get away with it. So I was really enjoying the writing style when I started it. I just need to finish it. Next is another book that I started and have not finished, and that's The Trial by Franz Kafka. This was written in 1914, but it wasn't published for a while. And this is about a guy, Joseph, who is basically arrested, and he has to defend himself against a charge about which he can get no information. So I started reading this and I got about 100 pages in and was liking it, but as usual, I got distracted by other books. So a book that I would love to finish this year. A book that I'm so excited to read, but I just keep putting it off, is Tell My Horse, Voodoo and Life in Haiti and Jamaica by Zora Neale Hurston. I read Their Eyes Were Watching God and fell in absolute love and awe and adoration for that book. And this is a book I actually bought beforehand. So this is a nonfiction book about the weird mysteries and horrifying stories and all this oddity that surrounds the idea of voodoo. And so Zora has, firsthand experience with all of that, so she decided to write about it. And there's pictures and all this kind of good fun stuff in here. So there's like a photo of some people that she will explain about, that kind of thing. So I'm really excited, of course, to get to this. I also have The Overstory by Richard Powers, which I bought in hardback because I was so excited to read it. And you know what? I got 100 pages in before I got distracted, and I was loving this book so much when I was reading it. It's about trees, it's about people and their relationship with trees. I think my problem was when I was reading it that so many people had said like around the 150 page mark is when it went a little bit downhill for them, and so I got to 100 pages and that was good enough for me. So I would love to reread the beginning of this and then finish it up. A big book, of course. All right, so we're down to the last 5. Next is a book that I got for review in 2018, which is, yikes, I have not reviewed it yet. It's called The Grimoire of Kensington Market by Lauren B. Davis. This is a Canadian sort of indie press book, and it is about sort of drug addiction and Toronto. So this is about a man who's clean usually, and he gets sort of swept up by this new drug, and it's inspired by the Snow Queen, and it takes place in Toronto. So interested in that. So another book that I have that I've had for a while is Let Me Tell You by Shirley Jackson. This is a collection of her essays and nonfiction just about a lot of things. There's a couple of new stories in here as well, which will be fun. I read The Lottery and Other Stories at the end of 2019 and I really loved it. So it's kind of the push I needed to be looking at this again. It's quite long, so we'll see. It's, over 350 pages, so we'll see how we get along. But again, another book that I would love to get to this year. Then I have this big thing, which I was supposed to read last year. I had it as one of my goals to read it as a way to get into Canadian authors, and then I just didn't. And it's the Penguin Book of Canadian Short Stories that was edited by Jane Urquhart. I have the dust jacket here somewhere, but I can't find it. And this is just a collection of short stories from Canadian authors. So there's a couple of people who I had heard about in this collection, but I hadn't read very many of them. And so my goal last year was to use this to find new Canadian authors. And I feel like I want to use it the same way this year. Just reading a couple of short stories here and there, and then maybe branching off into those authors, like works of fiction or longer works, things like that. And then I have two, probably the biggest books on this list. I have been trying to read A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mystery forever. So probably since 2018 is when I started it the first time. And I got about 80 pages in. And then I put it down, got distracted, and then I picked it up again last year, and I ended up getting 150 pages in. Now this book is huge, so not anywhere near the finish line at all. So I would love to buckle down and read this year. And then the biggest book, arguably, considering, House of Leaves is on here, is the one book that I started this year so far, and it is It by Stephen King. Now I know that this book is problematic. I know that there are some things in here that aren't great, but I find even with all of that, I still really love the world that Stephen King can create, despite the icky stuff that's in most of his books. So I really enjoyed the movies. I've seen them both, and I found that seeing the movies is actually really helping me get into the story. So I am currently 80-ish pages in, and really, really loving it. So hopefully I'll be able to finish this one this month and then maybe be less intimidated because I got the biggest one out of the way. So those are the books on my TBR that have been around the longest that I really hope to get to this year. Push me. If there are any books on this list that you've read or you want to read, let's talk about it in the comments down below. I would love to maybe buddy read some of these books and just add to the experience of reading them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Sunny is tired of the rain, and I will talk to you soon with another video. Bye!